Hey everyone, welcome to a quite long and therapeutic video I shot with Tom Ska on the topic of oversharing. Talking with him about what is okay and appropriate to post online versus what isn't so much was incredibly valuable for me, since I personally waffle back and forth a lot on what I think is helpful and or potentially harmful for my audience to hear, and what should be just for me and what can be for me and you guys. I needed this talk because I don't have this figured out. However, because I'm a role model and influencer for many young people, it's kind of my responsibility to at least work on figuring it out. The conversation with Tom was helpful, but while watching the footage back, I still had so many questions. So during this video, post-editing Ash will be popping back in to pose those questions to you. Maybe you guys will have some of the answers I am so desperately looking for. Yeah, okay, roll clip.
Hey, what's up guys? I'm here with Ash Mardell Hardell. Fuck!
That was perfect! I'm gonna keep it just like that.
Please don't.
What are some of the most personal things you put on the internet, and why did you feel compelled?
I don't know. I was always comfortable being quite open, but around about 2013, something in me definitely just snapped. And I was like, everything's fine. I'll talk about literally everything. And in the space of like 6 months, I was writing blog posts detailing my sex life. I was disclosing seriously personal information. And at one point, I posted a nude of myself.
Was it like a proper nude, or was it like...
It's like a tasteful nude. I'm definitely naked in the photo. And it was just this compulsion. I just woke up and was like, I am going to take and post a nude today. And I did, and I posted it, and then appropriately the response was, what are you doing? You have a child audience.
Okay,
and I was
fair
like,
enough.
oh god, and it was like kind of at that point that I was like, oh, when I share things it has consequences.
Because I was gonna ask what the difference was between like a body positive vlogger.
Yeah, they've created the space for it.
Okay, I see.
Like if you, you know, you start out as you wish to proceed. It was too late in the game for me to change direction like I was trying to.
Sure.
I've reeled it way back now. I have a set of rules that I follow with oversharing.
What are your rules? I'm curious.
It's basically, it has to be a story that only affects me. Like, talking about sex is kind of usually, you know, a 50-50 split. I try not to share other people's stories, because I was getting a lot of backlash from people I knew or used to know, being like, bruh, that's my sex life you are disclosing as well.
Okay.
I was like, oh, I'm stupid.
But do you feel like you've overshared regarding other topics at all? Anything besides sex?
Yeah, like mental, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, because like, that's the thing is like, where is the line between stigma and oversharing?
This is a big question I have. Are there any rules we have to follow or best practices we should abide by when talking about our mental struggles online? And the reason I ask is because there is evidence of certain unhealthy behaviors being able to breed more of that unhealthy behavior. For example, studies show that there may be a contagious quality to self-injury, evidenced by the phenomena that suicide and self-harm sometimes occur in clusters or outbreaks. This is one of the reasons it's so imperative that media is careful when they report on these kinds of incidents, because they don't want to unintentionally romanticize the behavior or even pose it as an option for young viewers. In a sense, it's possible to sometimes put these kinds of ideas into people's heads. And if the media has to be careful talking about these things, think how much more careful and how much more important it is for a YouTuber to talk about these issues carefully and tactfully, seeing as a YouTuber is usually a person the viewer trusts immensely and or looks up to. But then does this all mean that we shouldn't talk about heavy issues like self-injury or eating disorder behaviors or body shame or low self-esteem or depression? I don't think so, because that most certainly feeds into the whole hush hush, don't talk about it, let's all be in denial stigma, doesn't it? Also, if people don't talk about their serious issues, how can they find the help they need? So basically my question is, how can we talk about unhealthy behaviors without unintentionally romanticizing them or posing them as an option for our viewers? What are some rules or best practices? Give them to me. I want tips and tricks. Something that I feel like I've overshared is unhealthy eating habits, which I also know you've talked about.
I'd still do them.
Is talking about that oversharing? Do you think that romanticizes it all?
Yeah, I do regret talking about overeating and my dietary processes online because I failed at them every time. So there are so many documented false starts.
Sure.
Okay guys, this is the one, I'm gonna lose all my, oh no. So aside from being, making me feel stupid, it could demoralize other people. Like if someone idolizes me for some terrible reason, they're gonna look at me and be like, wow, if he can't do it, I can't do it, maybe. I
or
wish
maybe it like provides a realistic portrayal of how challenging weight loss is. That's like another way to think about it.
But I'm so open about like my life and some of my unhealthy coping mechanisms, so I do worry that I glorify them.
Right,
sometimes.
yeah.
I'm like, I'm drunk and I'm sad, ha, you know, and I worry that there's going to be some kid out there that's like, yes, I should get drunk when I am sad.
This is something that I am definitely guilty of doing. I've done it with drinking, but I do it even more with body shaming. And again, I'm worried I might be unintentionally encouraging my audience to do the same. We've all heard the phrase, misery loves company, so when a role model is validating an unhealthy behavior you do or a shitty feeling you're experiencing, you almost feel more connected to them. It sort of creates a bond between you and your idol. You both connect on this deeper, sad, lonely, tortured level, so you feel less alone. And feeling less alone in an unhealthy behavior can certainly breed more of said unhealthy behavior. On Tumblr, for example, and on other sites, I'm sure, there are entire blogs dedicated to connecting people with eating disorders so they can encourage each other to eat less and get skinny faster. They are feeding on the community's unhealthy behaviors. I know I don't want to foster a community of people who hate their bodies as much as I do sometimes, but does that mean I'm not allowed to vent and be honest about my feelings on Twitter, on Instagram, etc.? Maybe not, because I have such a large following. Maybe cultivating a large following has consequences. And maybe one of those consequences is I just can't say every feel I feel or thought I think. What's y'all's take on this? I can't decide where I draw the line between being honest about how I feel and encouraging unhealthy behaviors.
What kind of things have you overshared about? I want to know the hot goss. I've talked about posting nudes and everything. It's your turn to fall on the sword.
A lot of this happens on my second channel.
Right.
On my second channel, I've alluded to kind of eating disorder behavior and self-harm, and those are probably like the two heaviest things that I've talked about. And I wonder if like online is a place I should be talking about those things.
It's fine to talk about it as long as you are prefacing it with the fact that these are your personal experiences and that you are not an expert.
Right.
We have a responsibility, you know, when we know we're addressing a large audience, but like it only goes so far, you know, like video games have age warnings.
Sure.
But you know, they're not responsible for anyone who replicates them, and I think we as YouTubers are the same.
But why do we feel this compulsion to say these personal things to thousands of people? And I'm asking the question to myself too. Like,
well, I know why. So what do you think?
I don't know, because like I'm seeking validation that I'm not alone. Like, why? Why isn't it enough to tell your best friend or your doctor? Why do YouTubers feel compelled to spill their deepest, darkest ish to thousands of people? Why? I don't understand the compulsion, but yet I feel the compulsion. I want to talk to you guys about things, but I don't know why I do. It's really none of your business. Maybe I'm seeking some much-needed encouragement. Maybe it feels good to be totally transparent and vulnerable. Maybe when I tell you guys personal things, it makes you feel less like numbers and more like real friends. But I know that logically that's not how it works. I'll never know all of you, and you won't know me, even if I tell you about all the deep, dark shadows in my soul.
It's because it's easier to talk to this one-eyed bastard.
That might be true too.
Than it is to talk to a real person. When I wanted to talk about my parents splitting up, my dog dying, my weight going out of control, my mental health falling apart, it was easier for me to look a lens and talk to the theoretical masses than it was to talk to a real human being. And I put up a video in place of talking to my friends, knowing that they would see it and then I wouldn't have to tell them individually.
I did that right before 2 VidCons ago. Yeah, because I like took a break from YouTube, and I knew that if I showed up at VidCon without having posted a video in like 6 months, people would be like, what's wrong? Where were you? And then I'd have to be like, I was depressed. And they'd be like, awkward. This small talk went really heavy. So I posted that video on YouTube so we didn't have to talk about it.
Oh, that doesn't work. That makes them do it so much more.
Yeah, it kind of did. Through all your years of oversharing and learning what's right and what's not so right, what have you ultimately taken away? What have you learned?
Well, obviously share what you're comfortable about, and if it involves someone else, get their consent. Know your place. If you're not an expert on something, either refer your audience to experts or confer with an expert. And
I've learned it's really important not to be impulsive when it comes to oversharing. If you are like on the fence about sharing something or being vulnerable with your audience, and you just don't know if it's a good idea,
sit on it for a week.
Sit on it for a week. Ask a friend, do you think this is a good idea?
Some of my biggest mistakes I've made like while having a panic attack.
Right.
Like I was in a really mixed up place for like 24, 48 hours. That's when I like posted a stupid like kind of nude of myself.
Right.
That's when I wrote a super oversharing Tumblr post.
Sure.
Like I have done some dumb things very impulsively while freaking out.
Right.
And if I just waited for it or
Right.
conferred with any friends, like my friends have stopped me from posting so much dumb stuff because I wait now.
So yeah, basically the Venn diagram of a YouTuber's personal life and what they choose to post online is a complicated thing. What are your thoughts? When do you think it's okay to share something and when isn't it? I want to know. I'm interested. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye! Bye!
I'll keep that one.
Is that the one?
I like that
That's
one.
great.